Welcome to PV Magazine Live. We're here at Sonnen's U.S. headquarters with Sonnen CEO Boris Von Bormann. Boris, thanks for showing us.
Welcome, Christian, and PV Magazine viewership.
So I understand Sonnen was started as Sonnen Battery in 2010. Can you tell me a little bit about the early years of the company?
Yeah, absolutely. So Sonnen was founded in 2010 by Christoph Ostermann and Thorsten Stiefenauer, our two founders. They really came out of the electric vehicle conversion, also had some other applications with other forms of renewable energy generation, and I really then got into the battery business and developed the company out of it. So the company has been, or the product has been in R&D actually since 2008, and then the company was formed in 2010 with first units to being deployed. So we have now grown in a small startup in the Allgäu, which is the Western Bavaria area, to a company with about 150 employees and operating on 4 continents with over 13 countries now.
Fascinating. And I understand this was the unit that was rolled out in 2012?
Correct, yeah. So this is one of the very early models. So we're creating a little museum here in our headquarters in Los Angeles. So this unit was rolled out in 2012. Was very much different from what we currently have on price point and functionality. We first created a product that was all-encompassing. And so it created all the functionality, all the services that someone was looking for. And then we really fine-tuned what the customer actually wanted, given on the different applications, different markets, what the real world life experience was as we gained more units deployed. So we were close to about 1,000 units on this model actually. So they're still operating in the field, and we have a life expectancy of over 10 years out of these. So they will be in the market still for quite some time. And then we rolled out in 2014 the Eco model, which close to what you see right now in the market.
Fascinating. And I understand that the Eco, you have now, between the two models, as many as 8,300 online or more?
Correct, yeah. So we're closing on the 10,000 mark, but at the moment online, all of our systems are online, which is great. So it's one of the only companies, I think, in the world that has that much data actually on real-world deployed energy storage systems, and we can see how they're being used, how they're being driven, what the downfalls are, what the improvements are, how people are interacting with them. And so we see all of that online, and you're right, it's just over 8,000 systems now in the market and closing in on 10,000 systems sold into the market.
And I understand a lot of these are in Germany. In fact, you have a very high market share in the German market.
Correct, yeah. So it's always hard to fully understand how many units were deployed, but we have a very, very high market share in the German market. We do have a significant number of these deployed. The Germany, Austria, and Switzerland were like first key markets where we deployed our systems. But since then, Italy has come online very strongly. The UK, we have markets up in Norway, Denmark, there are some units deployed, as well as Luxembourg and some smaller countries, but now moved also into Australia, obviously into the United States. We have systems in Malaysia operating, in the Philippines, Nicaragua, we have first system shipped, as well as Brazil, and Puerto Rico, which is still U.S. territory, but the Caribbean islands are also a key market for us.
So outside of Germany and the Western European markets in the United States, what are some of the most exciting global markets for Sonnen?
Australia is a really interesting market to us as well. There's a very huge penetration of PV, so solar. The percentage of solar deployed on residential homes is actually the largest that you see in the world. So, and they have a tariff structure that's very high peak demand between 3 and 8 p.m. So we really see batteries being deployed or storage systems being deployed just to mitigate those demand charges between that time. And it's a very interesting market for us. So we have high hopes for the Australian market as well. In addition to that, Italy just came online. So I know it's Europe, and you mentioned outside of Europe, but Italy is a market that just came online. They just had a regulatory shift at the beginning of the year, and we are going very heavily into the Italian market, and it seems to be a really growth market for us as well.
So Boris, can you tell me a little bit about the drivers and the applications? I understand that batteries have so many different needs that they can meet. Some people are using them for backup power, others for peak shaving, others for arbitrage. What are the main applications that you see Sonnen's products meeting in the United States, particularly in the residential market?
Yeah, residential, commercial is quick. It's peak shaving, demand charge reduction. So that's a very easy market and demand response for utilities. For residential, it's more complex, as you said. So we see very high energy price markets, such as Hawaii and the Caribbean islands, where people are really looking for storage plus solar as their sole source of energy. So it's a self-consumption model. We see that, so your combined cost of solar plus storage is less than what your retail rate is over the expected lifetime of the system. So we have those markets already in, as I said, in Hawaii and most of the Caribbean islands, because it's a high cost of energy. Similar in Germany, we have a very low feed-in tariff, and we have a very high retail rate, and that delta, you rather want to self-consume the energy than you want to use it and feed it into the grid. So it's kind of the net metering 2.0 conversation that we're having, a wholesale reimbursement on your net metering versus a retail reimbursement on net metering. So that's what the application is. In addition to that, we have backup power. So when the grid failures, if there's natural events, natural disasters, occurrences where the power goes down for short periods or extended periods, solar plus storage system will provide you the energy for sustainable time. Off-grid applications where people don't have connections to the grid is usable. Aggregated networks as the community or virtual power plants to participate in grid services. And that's really the key drivers around it. And the drivers in California, there's a big incentive with the SGIP, so self-generation incentive program. It's a mouthful. And then there are other markets where storage is also incentivized, which drives some of the applications as well.
Interesting. Now, to go back a second, you talked about Hawaii. I've talked with a number of people about the changes post-net metering in Hawaii. Now they have the grid supply and another one that's called Selfsupply, which I think Europeans would know as self-consumption. Can you talk a little bit about how Sonnen's products can meet the needs of the self-supply program?
Mm-hmm, absolutely. So the way it's driven is that, so in Germany, for example, we have a limitation. You can only feed in 60% of your nameplate PV system. So if you have a 10 kilowatt system PV solar, you can only feed in 6 kilowatt at any given time. With storage, obviously with a smart storage system, we can absorb that and get it back to 100%. In Hawaii, it's even further. We're at zero grid feed-in, right? So we cannot see anything that the PV or solar is generating or renewable energy source is generating on the grid side. So what the system does, it actually captures all the energy generated from the solar system and puts it into the battery. And then when it's actually needed, so at night when the family comes home after work or your kids are back from school or the family is back, then we really need it in the afternoon. And that's when then the solar system plus the storage, the captured energy will provide that energy for the course of the night.
Very interesting. Now, in some of your more mature markets like Germany, I understand that Sonnen has some new directions. Can you tell me about the Sonnen Community and what that is?
Yeah, absolutely. It's a very exciting development for us. We just launched it in Berlin in November. I don't know if you were actually there, but we had a great launch event in Berlin where we launched a new brand. You see a difference here between Sonnen Battery and Sonnen. We launched a new brand, new product design, and then also the Sonnen Community. So Sonnen Community is actually, I compare it to the Airbnb of energy. So where actually the end customer is able to share energy between themselves. So we have 3 customers. One are people that are just consuming, so you don't even have to have a solar system or storage system to participate in a community. Then we have as a core the solar plus storage users. We call them prosumers, so someone that produces and consumes. And then we just have the producers, so people that are just producing energy. And what we do is actually we share the energy. So if you, Christian, for example, are overproducing today because you're not home, you're here in Los Angeles with us, and your system producing, you're overproducing, and I'm here or my family is there, my mom's visiting from Germany, whatever it might be, we have extra need for energy, you would actually sell us that energy in that community. So I would buy the energy that I need from the community and you would sell it into the community. Because it's one system that we're using, you actually get preferred rates over the feed-in tariff that we currently have in Germany for feeding it into the grid. And I actually get preferred rates from buying it over the retail rate because it's coming from local generators. So we don't have to go through the generation losses that we have. Obviously, we are now a utility. We have to be to use the grid infrastructure in Germany. So there's Sonnen Energy, which is a utility now licensed officially in Germany. And we are in the middle to really lift this network off the grid. So what we're doing then is if the whole interconnected Sonnen community is less than what the whole community is producing, we're actually trading in and buying in outside electricity from local producers. It could be someone as small as a 5 kilowatt rooftop system to someone that has a 100 kilowatt hour solar farm or biomass or a small wind farm or a small wind turbine. So we use that energy, renewable energy, to bring it into to lift that whole Sonnen community to be 100% renewable energy and off standard fossil fuel generation.
This is indeed the utility of the future that we've been talking about.
Exactly. So it is really right. So what it does, it really gives the control of the energy back to the end customers, and really is energy is yours is our new tagline. So we really think that clean and affordable energy is really the key challenge to our generation at the moment, and this is a puzzle that can solve this. So if you can really see this as being translated into other countries, into other markets, this will lift the control from the big utilities and fossil fuel generation to a more decentralized local utility and energy generation, and really give that power back to the people to produce their own energy.
So this is something that's happening right now in Germany. What about the United States? Is this something that we could see in the future in certain new states?
Of course. I mean, there's regulatory differences in every market. So we introduced the Sonnen Community in Germany, which is being well received. We are going full live February 15th into the market in Germany for the Sonnen Community, and we have to gain some experience around it because it's a brand new concept. It's the first time that actually it gives the power to a small producer and to end customers to sell their energy directly to another end customer. It hasn't been done ever before. And the full intent for Sonnen is to roll out this concept worldwide, where we not worldwide, but where we're operating, right? Eventually, hopefully worldwide, but we'll see where that takes us. But the key is really that all these markets that we're operating in, we have the full intent to roll the Sonnen Community out. We obviously have to review a regulatory framework. We have to see where it's applicable, where we're allowed to do so, and what's necessary to do so. So we have to treat each market, obviously, in the United States, even each state separately, to see where we're able to perform that. Initial interest, Texas, potentially with a highly deregulated market, there could be an opportunity for us.
Great. So let me see. If we go back to the history of Sonnen, up to the beginning of 2014, you had about 1,000 units rolled out.
Correct.
Then you got quickly, over the next 2 years, above 8,000 units. What are we looking at for the next few years for Sonnen in terms of your goals?
Of course. Yeah, I mean, we do have a little bit more rolled out prior to 2014. I think it was just over 2,000 units, somewhere around that. But as you see, like since we rolled out the Eco, is really when we saw the big growth in the market, because we had a 50% cost down. So this unit actually was around $22,000 for the larger system. When we released the Eco, we were at $5,900. So comparable, this one was at, I think, just over $13,000 and the same size as the Eco when we released it. So we really cut the price by half in June 2014. So that's really what elevated the growth of the company and the number of units that we released. As goals, obviously, we would like to grow as rapidly every year. So we have now these additional markets that are out. Australia, we're looking at Italy, Europe, as well as the United States and America. So South America could be a potential market. So we have strong growth rates. We're hoping to ship just about 10,000 units just this year globally.
Great. Thank you so much for taking the time to talk with me.
Oh, absolutely. You're welcome. Thank you for having me.
And this is PV Magazine Live. We're at Sonnen's U.S. headquarters in Los Angeles.